according to the book of Isaiah and the book of Revelations in the Bible, the first heaven and the first earth will pass away. Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17, this light and momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory far beyond all comparison. So wait. Go back. What was that? The momentary affliction? What does that mean? What does that mean? What's the momentary affliction part? Is that the apocalypse? Is that the Frashokarati and Zoroastrianism, which says a giant comet will hit the planet and a great giant river of lava and people will melt in agony? Or is that the seven suns in Mahayana Buddhism, where 6 additional suns show up and turn the planet into a ball of fire? Is it the Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods in Norse religion, where the air turns to poison and the demon Surtur sets all 9 realms on fire? Or is it the blue star Kachina among the Hopi tribe of Pueblo Indians, where the seas turn black and a giant blue star crashes into the earth? Or is it Armageddon from the book of Revelations, which is when the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse turn the seas and rivers into blood, the sun goes black, and eventually Jesus comes back and kicks Satan's ass? But basically, ancient religions are now coinciding with science. So scientists have just now realized that religion has been speaking fact all of these millennia. Science predicts doom, and that's where science ends. They don't really have a hypothesis for what happens afterwards, but religion does. Religion says that once humanity becomes too corrupt and forgets the teachings of the kapuna, the Hawaiian word for elders, and our saints, that the world is kaput. But a small sliver of humanity survives, and they replenish the new earth. The word Frashokarati, the end times in ancient Indo-Iranian, which is closely related to Vedic Sanskrit, means making wonderful or rehabilitation. In Greek, apocalypsis means an unveiling, a revelation. It's not just about the end of the world. It helps us see something that is hidden before. And Eckhart Tolle writes in his book, The New Earth, it just means your ego dies. No biggie. Okay. Thank you. But before the golden age arrives, like in the meantime, while we're going through this horrific transition, what do? Like, how do we prepare to journey through collective and individual trauma? Like, how are we going to get through this? And as an empath, you start to feel that trauma in your body. And at times you may experience pain so bad it feels like it's splitting you in half. And Eckhart Tolle says, oh, it's just your ego dying, no biggie. But to you and me, we're like right about to dial 911 if we're privileged enough to live in a place where we have access to healthcare and not like living in a refugee camp like Palestinians or the Syrians or the Somalians or the Rohingya people. Revelations chapter 6, verse 14 says, the sky was split apart. Have you ever felt like a part of you was split apart? Your heart was split, your soul, your dream, your business, your marriage is split apart. That's what I'm calling your own personal apocalypse. The world and certain groups of refugees or victims of disasters are experiencing their nation, their culture, their way of life, their livelihoods, their families being split apart. And meanwhile, you're experiencing your life or your body being split apart. Eckhart Tolle reminds us that's just your ego dying. Okay, thank you, Eckhart. We don't need you right now. Come back later. In Zechariah 14, the Bible says the Mount of Olives will be split in half and the Israelites will flee through it. What does that mean? When something splits in half, like your ego, your soul is able to escape its chains and flee through that opening. Your liberation results from everything you have ever known splitting apart.